Hello and welcome to my little world. So this week I worked on steps and a stone wall to go at the base of the Brick Townhouse. And I also added a banister to go over the arched doorway. So you can see my process this week with that. I used air dry clay for it, and I'm not sure that I would do that again. We're still in the process of seeing how it's going to turn out. And I think probably if I was to do this again, I would just do it using egg carton and making my rocks that way, my stone wall that way, on a box or something like that. But it's still to be seen whether this is going to work or whether I'm going to scrap it and do that instead. So I want to say hello to Yumika and Torchan, and welcome to everyone who's here today. And let's get started. This is a couple boxes that I had. This one's a very pretty one. It had like a writing utensil and ink in it. And this had a shower cap in it, and I cut the lid off of the pink box. It's a very nice sturdy box. And then I have some foil, which I have formed into these log shapes. And you will shortly see what I'm going to do with those. But here's the boxes after I glued them. And then I have this lace, and I'm painting it black. So it's a very pretty design, and I think it will look good as an architectural feature on the front of the Brick Townhouse. And you will shortly see what I'm going to do with this as well. This is just some watered down black paint, acrylic paint. After I got this far, I thought that maybe I should have added some Mod Podge to the mixture so it would make it stiffer. So I did add some Mod Podge to this lace, which I cut off from the top of a larger piece. And I used the Mod Podge and black paint mixture to paint this lace. So I bought some air dry clay from Temu, and it was a much smaller amount than I expected. I didn't look carefully when I ordered it, and it was about a third of the size of the package I was expecting. So, but I've never used air dry clay before, so I was just getting familiar with it. And I was rolling it out very thin because I was going to see if I could manage to make the amount that I had bought cover the whole parts that I was making for the front of the Brick Townhouse. And this air dry clay was quite soft and not bad to work with, and I used my little rolling pin, and then I used a spatula. It reminded me a lot of pie dough. I've worked with pie dough quite a bit. I have a lot of experience making pies, and this was a very similar consistency and level of stickiness. And as you can see, using the spatula, I was able to get it up from the surface that I was rolling it on, but it was pretty sticky. So then I had this design that I wanted to use to make rock shapes in the clay. And so I tried rolling that with the rolling pin on the flat surface. But it was really just too thin, and so getting it up from the shiny paper that I was forming it on was difficult. And well, as you'll see, this was just kind of a learning process of what I was going to need to do for these pieces. So I rolled out the clay that I had, and it was quite thin, and I figured out wasn't nearly enough for what I needed to do. So here I'm taking it back off and just kind of trying to figure out what I'm doing. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I got 10 pounds of this air dry clay for $15. So I paid $6 for this little tiny package on Temu. And they actually had a 2-pound package at Hobby Lobby for $13, but I wasn't sure that that was even going to be enough. So this was definitely the right amount to get, and I ended up using about half of it on these logs. So here we go. Oh, this feels pretty nice. Feels softer than I was expecting. It feels actually similar to the other clay, and when I poked it at the store through the plastic, it seemed like it was a little harder, but now that I'm working with it, it feels pretty much the same as the other. It's just a lot bigger and fatter and denser, but it feels pretty nice. So this time I'm going to try and get a bigger piece that will fit better on my foil. Since this isn't rolled out quite as thin as the other, it's a little easier to pick up. So it's not sticking to the board as much as the other one was, and it's staying smoother. I put the two pieces together to form a corner and added enough clay to make a nice juncture there at the corner and at the end. And then I ended up using those stone shapes once the clay was already on the logs, because that worked out better than using it on the flat pieces before I put them on. I covered the other log roll with more of this clay, and it's been drying for a couple days now, and you can see by the light color that these are fairly dry. They have some cracks in them, which I'm repairing right now. I also covered the boxes to make the front steps, and they have a big crack in them, but I just covered a crack in the middle there, and then I'll just need to trace the rocks over the repairs. So I think they're coming along fine. I hope they're not too crumbly and wanting to fall apart. Not sure what I might need to do to seal them. Maybe just the paint that I use on them will be enough. We'll see. New experiences. I sprayed water on it and filled the cracks with some wet clay. So we'll see how that dries. If the cracks are thin enough, I might just leave them. That happens naturally in walls. So we'll see. I also made these two walls that are going to go at the base of the house next to the steps. I cut the long piece of lace in half and glued one piece to the other in the middle with tacky glue, and then I cut the top piece to fit the same length and glued that as well. So here it is on the house in front of the arched windows, or doors I should say, acting as the banister of the balcony. And I added some black strips on the sides. So here you can see that the cracks have gotten worse, and on the side it actually even came away from the side as it dried. And I found out from checking on YouTube that it probably wasn't the best idea for me to form this on a box, because the clay shrinks when it dries. And I have had some previous experience with clay, but it had been a long time. But I decided to use wood glue on these cracks, and I used a whole lot of it over here on this side. And I think that's probably going to work. So I'm just letting that dry. And once it was dry, I painted all the little mortar lines around the rocks with an almondine color of acrylic paint, watered down with a small brush. And it seems to be working. The glue dried and is holding and is very strong. So I think that's going to work. And I also painted the almondine color on the log rolls, which are the walls. And you can see even the cracks that are there just kind of fit into the overall pattern from a distance. And they don't prevent the log from holding together when I pick it up. They're rather delicate, but I've been able to carry them back and forth to the kitchen to work on them, and they have held together. So I'm pretty happy. However, these walls did not fare so well, and these cracks are beyond repair. So I have to do something different for the walls that go under the house, looking like they're part of the foundation. So I cut out some cardboard and some right-angled cardboard and some poster board to be the right sizes for under the house. And then I traced the lines with pencil of the stencil on these. I painted the lines with the almondine, and then I used this puffy paint. It's dimensional fabric paint, seemed to work fine. I used that to make the outlines of the stones, and then I used that and a mixture with black paint. I kind of mixed a number of things that I had together, but now I have painted all of the rocks black. I used wood glue to glue the pieces of cardboard together, and I have them clamped and drying right now so that these wall pieces will stand and not fall over. I stippled watered down brown paint and then watered down brick colored paint onto each black rock, and this is the color that I've ended up with. So that's all for this week, and I will see you next week. It's getting close to Halloween. Bye-bye.